Hey family, as we move into this holiday weekend, I want to hold space with you. I want to ground us and to remind us to care for one another and to invite us into a moment of reflection. You see, every summer for the 4th of July, the fireworks light up the sky, the American flags wave, the parades roll through, all celebrating the story of American independence from colonial rule, from the grip of the British Empire. But the cruel irony here is that even as America broke free from Britain, it built its power on the backs of enslaved African people on stolen indigenous land. But I can't help but hear the voice of Frederick Douglass cutting through the noise and all the fireworks, still asking us plainly, what to the slave is the 4th of July? You see, in 1852, Douglass stood before this nation and dared to name and call out the lie, by pointing out that you cannot celebrate freedom in a country where entire communities are still in chains. And that truth is no less relevant today than it was in 1852. You see, the chains may look different now, but they are still here. They manifest in our schools, systemically starved of resources, in our neighborhoods, subjected to occupation-style policing, and laws and policies and societal practices that systemically strip away our political power. And all of this is part of a web of oppression that must be named and dismantled. As the intersectional feminist and scholar Audre Lorde taught us, with the tools of our own courage, speaking truth even when our voices shake, refusing silence because our silence will never protect us. And this is why, as an organization, Alabama Values is grounded in the role that narrative and messaging plays in the fight for not only freedom, but collective liberation. We must be honest with ourselves that freedom and liberation are not the same. Freedom on paper is a legal status, but liberation is a practice. It is the day-to-day experience of human dignity, safety, and belonging. It is living free from fear, from violence, from systemic harm. And so I ask, what does freedom in America mean if Black people, brown people, indigenous people, and other communities pushed into the margins across this country are still fighting to survive? What is independence worth if anti-Blackness still drives how policies are written, how laws are enforced, how our people are treated? What does today mean to you? We must gain an understanding and name the root of this harm. We must stop lumping everything happening in America today under fascism and authoritarianism alone, because those forces were shaped and influenced by white supremacy, chattel slavery, Jim Crow laws, and systemic racism, homegrown right here in America. You see, white supremacy is not just history. It is alive and operating in every structure that denies our communities the ability to fully live freely. And notice I said it is alive, because I'm not speaking about white supremacy as a person or a hate group. I'm referring to white supremacy as a system and ideology, a deeply entrenched matrix of power that controls, conditions, and constrains our possibilities by being embedded in all of our institutions: healthcare, education, law, economy, media, and entertainment. So it's a no for me. We cannot separate independence from liberation. If you are leaving whole communities outside the gates of freedom, you are throwing a party for a lie. Until every single one of us is truly free, until the full promise of a multicultural democracy is truly realized, these celebrations are incomplete, and these fireworks are empty performative rituals. As long as America refuses to name and uproot its own contradictions, our liberation will stay on hold. We cannot heal what we refuse to name, and we cannot transform what we refuse to confront head on, out loud, and in public. Now, I believe in what America could become, but belief alone will not save us. See, we need action, we need motion, we need accountability. We need to finish the work that Douglass and our ancestors spoke of. We must protect the right to vote like our lives depends on it, because they do. We must invest deeply in communities that have been exploited and neglected, communities that have carried this nation on their backs without ever receiving its promises. We must also call for a literal transfer of power and privilege to those communities and those leaders closest to the pain, placing them directly at the decision-making tables where their wisdom and lived experiences can lead us forward. So this year, I'm asking you to do more than watch the fireworks. I'm asking you to revisit Douglass's words. I am asking you to turn to the ancestors. I am asking you to tap into this nation's collective memory and let it unsettle you. Let it move you. And then stand up. Call out these systems and practices, even when they show up in spaces where you never, would have imagined or expected them to. Organize your communities, because we know that real change happens when everyday people get together and say enough is enough. Vote with a purpose and a passion like your ancestors' dreams and your future depends on it. And demand a country where liberation is not a performance, but a living reality. Because family, there can be no true freedom and independence without liberation. And there can be no liberation without directly confronting white supremacy and anti-Blackness at their roots. We must also educate ourselves, shift the narrative, and reclaim our histories so that the truth guides our path forward. We must love each other, get reacquainted with the village of our shared humanity, and explore what self-determination and community support looks like when the very systems meant to help us are the systems that cause us harm. And this is our work. This is our fight. And this is how we will one day truly be free. So on this Independence Day, I leave you with this. Liberation is not granted. It is built by us together. We must, as James Baldwin, the prolific poetic writer and truth teller, might say, take it upon ourselves to become the architects of our own deliverance, no matter how much this nation resists our truth.